Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight for News 410. I'm Jessica Bowman.
And I'm Matt Breen. The warming shelter here in Sioux City has opened its doors to hundreds of people experiencing homelessness.
That's right. And today the shelter opened its doors to the public to show how they tackle this serious issue. The warming shelter held an open house this afternoon, giving community members a behind-the-scenes look at how the shelter operates. Visitors could speak with staff and even with people who are clients of the warming shelter and tour those living spaces in the warehouse of resources. The tour follows comments critical of the shelter from the Sioux City City Council member Rick Bertrand. Warming Shelter Executive Director Shayla Moore said she was pleased to see people take an interest in seeing how the shelter works from day to day.
People aren't just accepting just the status quo, what they're being told, and that means more than words can even say. There have been some poor things that have been shared about the warming shelter that do not hold any truth, and so I am so thankful to have community members who are willing to come out, see for themselves firsthand, and not just accept, that secondhand information that's being told to them.
Moore says she hopes the open house will help clear up some of what she calls misinformation that is spread to the public about the shelter's operations. Now, also this afternoon, about 100 people came out to show their support for the warming shelter in front of City Hall prior to the City Council meeting. Among the people showing support were people who received help from the shelter, like Jesus Perez. He graduated recently from West High School after help with housing from the shelter. Perez says he is so thankful to those he has met. He also said he's one of many people who have benefited from the support of the warming shelter.
I mean, people need help, not just only one. Other people need help too. It's important for me because I just met new people and they're so kind and it's interesting and I like it.
After the gathering outside, many of the supporters moved inside to address the City Council.
Inside Council chambers, it was standing room only as many warming shelter supporters packed the room. During the citizens' concerns portion of the meeting, many spoke in support of the organization and expressed their concern over comments by Councilmember Rick Bertrand about the shelter at previous meetings. At last week's meeting, Bertrand told council members he'd spoken with an anonymous whistleblower who described the shelter as a prison atmosphere and said there was grooming happening inside the shelter. Those are allegations that warming shelter staff say are false. Councilmember Craig Berenstein says he appreciated comments from those who support the shelter and says the council is committed to finding a path forward.
It's so important to have open, candid dialogue, respectful dialogue. And as I visited with the warming shelter representatives over the last couple of weeks, and in particular as a result of the dialogue from last Monday, this gives us an opportunity to be very candid, to share thoughts, and to try and find a solution.
For his part, Bertrand thanked the warming shelter supporters for the professional way in which they brought their concerns to the council.